All right, we'll go ahead and get started. We probably will still have a few people joining here. Welcome to the Goal Plan Writing Workshop for OCSAA. It's nice to see all of you. I look forward to this time this morning to listen to you, collaborate with you, and hopefully give you guys some good tips and resources as you take the next few months to really write your goal and write your plan. So we'll go ahead and start with prayer. At this time, if you have any special intentions, please just hold them in your heart. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty God, you sent forth your Son as a beacon of hope for all people. As a teacher, he has given us the prime example of the importance of education. As disciples, we look to him for inspiration and strength. Thank you for the many people who have dedicated their lives in service to our Catholic schools. Thank you for the teachers and administrators who sustain our schools. Thank you for the parents who give support and witness to the importance of Catholic education. Thank you for the students who work hard to further their education. Bless all our Catholic schools and the many people who advance our mission. May our schools be a home for those who seek to grow in openness, faith, love, intellect, and commitment to justice. In your name, we pray. Amen. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So I will start with just a short introduction. I am Amanda Uten, the new Director of Accreditation for OCSAA. Nice to virtually meet all of you. A little bit about myself. I taught high school biology for many, many years before moving into administration at an elementary school in Dayton, Ohio. And I'm thrilled to be in this position. I love school improvement, and I'm so happy to be able to work with schools to make their school improvement process meaningful and make it work for your school. So I would also thought I would share a little bit about OCSAA, especially for those of you here who are a new administrator, maybe you're new to Catholic education. Maybe you've done this process as a teacher and you are now an administrator and you're just kind of like, why are we doing this? What's the background here? So this independent Catholic Accrediting Association was established in 1994. And so before that, the Ohio Department of Education would have to go into every single Catholic school and do a compliance check. And that just became very burdensome. And unfortunately, at that time, Catholic schools were not passing those compliance checks and often enough, I suppose. So the bishops all came together, state leaders came together and formed this independent accrediting association. So OCSA's mission is to assist, guide, and direct schools with the following. First and foremost, we want to assist you in strengthening your Catholic school identity. And this is really going to be a focus of mine moving forward. Hopefully you all have subscribed to the new newsletter Thrive. If not, please get in contact with your principal and get added to that newsletter. I send that out monthly, and it's certainly at least one page of that will always be focused on that Catholic school identity. OCSAA wants to engage and help you engage in the ongoing improvement of student learning and performance. So that's that continuous improvement piece. That's that strategic planning. Where do you want to be in 4 years? And then the other arm of OCSAA is that compliance with state operating standards, making sure all Catholic schools are in compliance with all ODEW rules and regulations. So that's just a little bit of a background. So for our time together today, we're going to have everybody introduce themselves here shortly. We're going to very briefly review what the self-study is. Most of you have already done that self-study, and you're now in that year 2. You're writing your goals and your plans, and you're anticipating your validation. But I do want to speak to how does that self-study flow into your goal and into your plans. And then at the end, maybe some final tips and takeaways. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and call out everybody's name. And if you could just unmute yourself and maybe just share your name, your role, your school, and where you are in the school improvement process. I know we also have a lot of diocesan members here, which is great. So if you haven't met your diocesan person, maybe you'll get to meet them now. So I'm just going to start with who I see on my screen. So Becca Lund, if you want to go ahead.
Yes. Hi, my name's Becca Lundy. It's great to be here. I work for Gilmore Academy. And right now, I'm just taking over for an individual who left last year. So I'm learning a lot of things, including where we are in the school improvement process. I know we have our goals and we had our accreditation visit 2 years ago.
Thank you. Missy.
Hi, I'm Missy Hokinson. I'm the advisory person for the Diocese of Cleveland. Where am I in the process? I'm getting ready to hit the ground running with internal validation visits.
Thank you, Missy. Thank you for everything you do. Laura Mivers next.
Hi, I'm Laura Mivers from the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. I'm also getting ready to start with our internals and looking forward to working with my people.
Thank you, Laura. Kitty.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kitty Quinn with the Diocese of Columbus. I'm on the advisory committee. And where I am at, I'm in each one of the cohort groups. So I'm doing a little bit of everything. Visits, internals, prepping for year one, moving on.
Thank you, Kitty. And then I've got Teresa, no last name. Maybe we'll come back to Teresa. What about Jackie? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Jackie Mumford from the Diocese of Youngstown. I'm the newest member of the advisory committee, and I'm actually getting ready to begin our internal work with our validation year people, as well as launching some of our year one self-studies. So thank you.
Thank you. Danielle Esposito.
Hi, I'm Daniela Esposito. I'm at Elyria Catholic High School. I'm new to the OCSAA team. I'm the chairperson this year. We're set to begin our internal validation in November. So that's kind of where we are.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Lisa Yeager, I know you. I just met you.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning.
So I'm first year principal. I'm at St. Angela Merici. We're in the third year of our process. And I've gone through the process as a teacher, but this is my first year as a principal.
Awesome. Kathy Powers.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Powers. I'm the principal at Holy Name High School. My first year here. And we are in year 4 of our plan. Missy's been out for a visit already. So she's helping me kind of steer the way here. And I just look forward to information today from the team. Thank you.
Thank you. And then St. Helens.
Okay, I'm Mary Beth Walters. I am a 6th grade teacher and I chair our accreditation team. And I am here with the boss ladies.
Carol Weimer, assistant principal at St. Helens.
And Christy Walters, principal at St. Helens.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. MK Tokash, you're next.
Hi, I'm Mary Kay Tokash. I'm from Holy Family in Stowe. We just finished our self-study last year, so we're in our second year, and I am the assistant principal.
Thank you. Heather Hawk-Frank.
Hi, my name is Heather Hawk-Frank. I am the principal at Holy Family in Stowe. So as Mary Kay said, we are preparing right now for our internal validation, which will be in November.
Great. Tim?
Oh, hi, Tim Mahoney with the Diocese of Toledo. I'm on the advisory committee, and I'm doing everything all those other nice ladies just said. So IVTs are the biggest thing on the list right now.
And Susan, you know I have to share. So Susan DiGiorgio, hi, she was my 4th grade teacher. So I have a very special place in my heart for Susan. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm very proud too, Amanda. How about that? Long way from 4th grade.
Long way.
I'm Susan DiGiorgio, and I'm a principal of Ascension School, which is in the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. And we are preparing for our internal visits.
All right, let's see. Deneen Beal.
My name is Deneen Beal. I am the principal at St. Francis Xavier School in Medina, so I'm with the Diocese of Cleveland. We are doing our self-study this year. I'm at the point of missions and beliefs. I did this my first round, not knowing what I was doing because I was hired as a principal from a teacher aspect. So so much has changed. So I'm hoping I can learn a little bit more on the goal piece.
Sure. Thanks for being here. Natalie Villela. I'm sure I said that wrong.
No, that's okay. I'm Natalie Villela, and I'm from St. Francis de Sales in Lebanon, Ohio, and we're part of the Cincinnati Archdiocese, and I'm the assistant principal, and we're in year 2.
Great. Thank you. And Anthony Rohr.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm principal at St. Sebastian Parish School. We are in year 1 of the self-study cycle.
Thank you. And Dee Horvath.
Hi, I'm Diane Horvath, and I'm with St. Francis de Sales in Lebanon with Natalie Villela. And as Natalie said, we are in year 2.
Thank you. And Franny Yagilski.
Hey, there you go. You even got the J correct. I'm Franny Jagelski. I am from the Diocese of Toledo, St. Joan of Arc principal. We are in year 2 self-study.
Great, thank you. Nandy Hawker.
Hi, Nandy Hoker here. I am from Immaculate Conception School in the Diocese of Columbus, and we are also in year 2.
Great. Let's see, Tina Abel.
Hi, I'm Tina Abel. I'm the principal at St. Pat's in Toledo, Ohio, and we are getting ready for our internal validation.
Great, thank you. And Kristen Rojas.
Hi, I'm Chris Rojas, and I am from Ursuline Academy in the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, and we are getting ready for our internal validation.
Great, thank you. And Jennifer Schlangen.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Schlangen. I'm here with Teresa Metter. We were having technical difficulties on Teresa's computer with our audio, so we apologize. So let's see, I'm the assistant principal at Alter High School. Hi, this is my second year in this process. We've written our goals, and we have an appointment with Laura Mybers in a couple of weeks. And then this is Teresa Metter.
Hi.
Hi.
I think you summed it up.
We got just a few more. Matt from Ascension.
Hi, I'm Matt Hunch from Ascension. I work with Susan. I teach technology and religion. I'm part of the.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for being here. What about A. Hongs?
Hi, I'm Alicia Hongs. I am Lottie Waldman's administrative assistant, and I'm just kind of taking notes for her because she's in another meeting at the moment. So I'm just her fill-in for the moment.
Thank you for being here. And Kay Borelli?
Good morning. I'm Kathy Borelli from St. Anne's School at Communion of Saints Parish in Cleveland Heights, Cleveland Diocese. I'm admissions and operations, so I am taking notes for my principal as well.
Thank you for being here. And I think last but not least, Lisa McMurray.
Hi, sorry, I was in another meeting. Elementary principal at Sandusky Central Catholic. Just trying to see where we're at and where we're going. This is my first time through the process.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for being here. And, as the prayer said, thank you for everything that you do for Catholic education. I'm so excited about where Catholic education is in our state. And as I'm learning about all the different dioceses and all the different schools, you all are doing amazing, wonderful work. I think we really have some really good momentum going. And so I hope that you feel that, and I hope that you can translate that into your goal and into your 4-year plan. These were some requests from you as you filled out your RSVP of what you were hoping to get out of this. I'm going to hit most of these. I don't necessarily have a specific slide for the OCSAA portal, but your diocesan member can certainly help you navigate that. But if there's anything that you need or have questions on that I'm not hitting, please make sure that when we have these natural break points to ask that question, because if you have that question, I am sure that somebody else also has that question. So as we go through today, you will be collaborating with one another. There will be some interactive questions and polls. So you will want to have your cell phone out. The next slide is going to have a QR code that you will kind of snap a picture of, and it'll take you immediately to this interactive poll. There might also be on the top a place for you to go to a website or text the answer. And if you can't figure out how to get it to work, don't worry about it. Just sit back and see what everybody else types in. Along with this poll, if you could just on a piece of notebook paper, write 1 to 3 specific questions you hope to have answered today, and kind of keep that out in front of you to make sure that you get those questions answered and that you're focused on what you want to get out of today, because everybody's coming into this kind of in a different spot and looking for different things. So let's see if we can get this first poll going. So before we begin, the question is, how familiar are you with the goal and plan writing process on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 would be you really don't know what you're doing, and 5 would be, you know, you've done steering committees for several cycles.
So what do you hit to submit it?
It might automatically submit it. You might not have to press anything. Can somebody else chime in and when you put it on your phone?
It's automatically calculating the answers.
You just select your choice and it automatically populates. You don't need to submit.
Amanda, does 1 mean not is like that's the low one, or?
Yeah, correct. 1 would be you're not familiar at all. 5 would be, you know, you've led several steering committees. And in that case, you probably wouldn't be attending this workshop. So we've got about 20 responses, and good. Kind of, we actually do have quite a few 4s. That's excellent. So when you guys do go into breakout rooms, know that we've got some experience in this group. Although maybe that's really the advisory members, right? maybe the diocesan staff put a 4 for themselves because they know this process inside and out. But there's a look at what the group looks like, and it's kind of a mix. I want to just keep reminding everybody as we go through today and as you go through the next school year is to make this process meaningful. You spend a lot of time and energy and resources on the self-study and on the plan writing, and then hopefully along on the implementation as well. So make it meaningful for your school. Really take the time to look at that self-study, identify where you have some gaps, and ask and answer the question, where do you want your school to be in 4 years? Because if you do this process right, you actually really help yourself for the next 4 years because you have a framework, you have a plan for your relationship with your parish and your pastor, maybe for that Catholic identity. You have a PD plan, right? If you do PD right, we'll talk about that later. You can pull up your plan and know, oh, we're going to have a speaker this year, or we've got a book study, or we wanted to bring in, this workshop. So let's spend some time and really try to get it right. So I said we would start with the self-study, which is year 1. Some of you are in year 1. Again, most of you in year 2. So the self-study is that year-long process for a school to look at their demographic data. How have those demographics maybe changed since the last time you did the self-study? You're looking at your mission and beliefs, maybe updating those. Maybe you don't need to update those. You're defining areas of improvement. So that's looking at all of your surveys, your parents, your students, your teachers, other stakeholders maybe. And you're looking at those results and trying to identify where could we do better? But also don't forget to identify what are we doing well, because you want to use those strengths to your advantage. You're looking at organizational effectiveness. How well do we do PD? Do we need more PD? What kind of PD do we need? Look at the data that you have. Are you using iReady or MAP? Are you using ARC? Are you using other types of assessment? All of that is going into your self-study, which then should flow into that goal plan writing year, which we call validation year. A lot of you are almost ready to have that internal visit and then an external in the winter, springtime. And then the next 4 years, you're implementing that plan. Maybe some things have to change. Maybe you decide that, your students aren't quite ready for this part, or, maybe they are ready to move on and you're skipping a little bit ahead. Those are the progress reports that you're going to be writing in years 1, 2, and also in years 3 and 4. So again, start with the end in mind. What do you want your students to be able to do at the end of 4 years? Notice I didn't say what do you want your students to know. What do you want your students to be able to do? And we'll talk more about that. So as I keep saying, start with the end goal in mind, and that's going to help you write your goals and your plans. But you should also be using your profile, your strengths and weaknesses from your profile, the survey data, what available PD is out there, and also best practice. This is huge. Education, as we all know, it changes every 5 to 10 years. There's something new, there's something different, there's something better. So use this time to really do that research, to get on and figure out what are other schools doing, what's best practice in my goal area right now. So before we move into specifically looking at the goal, are there any questions that anybody has? Anything that you want to share or any questions?
I don't know if it's the right space to ask this question, but I guess I'm a little confused that the whole plan is already filled out, like years 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like it's all filled in. And is that typical when we're in year 2?
No, so all those boxes will not be filled in yet. When I get to those templates, maybe I will be able to answer your question. You might be looking at the plan writing guide, I'm guessing.
I'm walking into the position. This is my first year as the principal here. And so there was another person in place last year, and I viewed the plan several times, just trying to wrap my head around it, because I'm one of the people that's on the end of not knowing a lot. But it looks like the plans for all 4 years are all filled in. And I'm just wondering if that's typically how it starts, if you just kind of lay the whole thing out.
Sure. So some dioceses will start to write that plan at the end of the self-study year. So you might be a school where, and I don't know if there's a advisory member who can step in. Your school might have actually started to write that plan in the spring. And I think most schools will start to do that in the fall. We'll be doing that now. Laura, is that one of your schools?
Yes, it is.
So is she right? Is she looking at a plan that's kind of already started to be written?
It could very well be, yes.
Okay.
And so,
I think the way I understand her question, yes, a plan is written full 4 years, and she's walked into an existing plan, but there is the latitude to make changes where necessary, and those are recorded in your progress review reports.
And yeah, and the other thing is, if you want a private one-on-one with me, I could do that with you, and I'll send you the link for those virtuals, or I can come out to your building. But yes, when a team is writing their goal and their plan, they do write the first 4 years. Your first year is going to be the most solid because it's going to happen, within the next several months, next September. And as you write the second year of the plan, the third and the fourth, you are assuming and doing your best guess of where you think you're going to be. And like Kitty just said, at the end of every school year, you're able to revise and, pivot and move or make things better. So you're not stuck. So when we're asking you in your second year of your self-study, in your best guess, what do you believe you're going to do for the next 4 years? And then you write it out so you have something to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Kitty. All right, so let's talk about writing of the goals. The goals should reflect content, skills, and competencies. So it can contain content, information, or knowledge, but truly a goal and a plan should be focused on the skills that students will be able to do at the end of 4 years. So academically, written in terms of what they will be able to do. And then in terms of Catholic identity and the Catholic culture goal, you want to be thinking about how are students putting their faith into action? How are they applying an aspect of the Catholic faith? So it does have to include Catholic teaching, virtues, sacraments, the Mass, liturgies. But again, focus on, at the end of 4 years, who are your students? What are they doing? How are they showing how they've grown over the life of that plan? Other goal requirements, it should go beyond nationally expected current practice. It should involve all teachers and all students. Again, it should be putting faith in action, must reference Catholic teachings, beliefs, practices, traditions. And the academic performance goal should represent best practice. It can be content, but it also needs to contain critical thinking, evaluation, and communication. Again, all of these skills that students need when they leave your school. I'll give you now some sample academic and Catholic identity goals. These are purely just samples. So students will develop critical thinking skills through gradual implementation of STREAM activities across the curriculum. Students will develop an understanding, demonstrate, and apply agency in the classroom setting. So think about student choice, student voice, self-advocacy. Students will increase their ability to demonstrate and apply informational literacy skills. Students will be able to increase their ability to evaluate articles, opinion pieces, information for their curricular areas of study. So notice these goals kind of have a combination of maybe a little bit of content area focus, but more so than that, it really is the skills and those action verbs that we want students to be able to do. I don't have a math goal example up here, but you could certainly, look at your self-study and look at your school data and know you have a math problem. Well, if you know you have a math problem, you should probably be focusing on that for the next 4 years. So why not make that your OCSAA goal? But when you write that goal and when you write that plan, it can't just be focused on content and we're going to use flashcards and we're going to use this app and we're going to change to this curriculum. That's not focusing on what the students are doing, right? So at the end of the 4 years, how are the students going to be able to show and apply increased data literacy, increased, algebraic thinking or operations? If you're using iReady or if you're using MAP, those domains are already built in. There's probably a lot of resources already built in, maybe even some project-based learning examples you could pull in. But the focus should be on what students are doing.
Amanda, I'm sorry to interrupt. Could I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Molly Proudfit. I'm the assistant principal for learning and innovation here at Ursuline, and I'm just sitting here with Chris. I have led a school through an accreditation process in a different state, so I'm trying to sort of wrap my brain around how this process is similar and different. I have been working with our academic goal committee on determining what the goal will be and looking at the student data and all of that. And much of what you're saying is really affirming, so I appreciate that very much. My only question is here, it looks like these examples are all very student facing, and what my committee arrived at was the need for a prolonged cycle of professional learning that would engage them in kind of defining what does a portrait of a graduate look like in the reality of an AI world, and then solidifying our curriculum, power standards, and essential skills, breaking those apart to learning outcomes, defining mastery criteria so that then eventually in year 4, we can approach differentiation in response to a changing demographic of learner that we're experiencing. So I was just curious if I need to phrase that in a student facing language to be appropriate, or if I need to go back to my committee and revise entirely, or if you could just sort of give me some guidance there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing, because I bet you're a high school, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And I bet if there are other high schools on here, they are nodding their head and saying, yes, this is exactly what we're experiencing as well. So it sounds like you definitely know what you want to do. And it sounds like you know where you want to be in 4 years. But what I'm hearing is you know where you want your faculty and staff to be in 4 years. And that's great. That is a piece of the puzzle, right? When we look at in a few slides, we're going to show how the plan, I think you should write it from bottom up. We're going to show how those different parts interact with each other. So you're going to want to go back to your steering committee and think, we know what we want our faculty and staff to be learning. How are we going to translate that into what does it look like into the classroom so the students are doing something? So I heard the words AI. I heard maybe a little bit about digital citizenship, maybe. I'm not sure what your student focus is going to be, but you're entirely correct. The OCSAA goal should be student focused. What are the students doing? But don't throw out what you just said, because you seem very passionate about that. And so that's what you guys should be doing. But yeah, you're going to want to brainstorm what it looks like in the classroom.
And I want you to capture what you just said and put that in the plan, which is box, 2 all the way across. And then from that, you'll say, now that we've learned this as a staff, we've improved our skills. How are we going to transfer this into the classroom each year? Then that becomes the goal with the student.
Okay, that makes sense. And we
Yeah,
have
so you're definitely on the right track. You're going okay. It's just they're going to have to reverse your thought for the goal.
Right.
But
okay, and we did that in committee, and I will make sure our writing reflects that. So that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great question. All right, some example Catholic identity goals. Students will demonstrate an understanding of care of other people and all of God's creation by constructing a faith community of respect for themselves, others, and the campus environment. So this was kind of a care of God's creation, maybe a Laudato Si goal. Students will demonstrate their understanding of the Catholic social teaching principles of human dignity and solidarity. If you do choose to look at the 7 Catholic social teaching principles, I highly, highly, highly recommend you focus on 1 or 2 of them. There is no way that you're going to be able to do all 7 in 4 years. So think about your school and which one of those or 2 that you would want to focus on. Number 3 is also Catholic social teaching. Number 4, students at St. X will develop a deeper understanding of the Catholic Mass in order to strengthen their relationship with Jesus. That goal is not quite as strong. We would probably need to word that goal a little bit differently, because we can't really measure strengthen the relationship with Jesus very well, but you get the idea. You're going to want to look at your demographics. What if you're a school that is mostly non-Catholic? How do you write a Catholic identity goal? How do you build that over 4 years? And that's going to look different than a school that's 95% Catholic, and that's okay. Your goal should be meaningful for your school and for your demographics. Any questions about the Catholic identity goal? We're gonna spend a lot more time on goals here in just a minute. Okay, so I am going to put you into a breakout room. I think we have about 30 people, so I'll try to get you into a breakout room with maybe 4 people total, and just give you guys some time and space to just share where you are in the process, what your goal is starting to look like, what your plan is starting to look like, and maybe you'll find somebody who's kind of got a similar goal or similar plan. All right, here we go. So take a minute and look at some of these goals. Excellent. A lot of the Catholic identity goals here. I'm seeing a lot of Catholic social teaching. I love the Catholic spiritual traditions. I think that's something that's not focused on enough. And certainly some of these goals are, you're just starting to get going, right? You know what you want to focus on, but maybe we haven't, written the goal exactly how we want it. Self-directed learners, stewardship, service, solving real-world problems. Excellent. All right. Any questions before we move on then to really the main part, which is that plan and writing those 2 plans? Any questions? Okay. So when you go to write your 4-year plan, there are a series of boxes over 4 years, and each year has the same 6 components that you're building or scaffolding from year 1, 2, 3, into 4. Those yearly components are the baseline of student knowledge or understanding. So what sort of assessment data are you using to base your next steps on? Professional development and implementation of that PD. Changes in instructional strategies and assessment, that still is teacher focused. But then the one that's really important, that's student focused, is that scaffolding of ongoing student learning. So that's that row across the 4 years, that is, what are the students doing? And then finally, at the end of every plan year, you should be reviewing, reflecting, and possibly revising the plan. So in all of the resources that I sent, there were lots of school improvement plan resources on that new administrator resource website. So the template is what you will download, and this is what you will actually be editing in Microsoft Word. You will be able to click on the gray boxes to type in all of the elements of your plan. If you don't know your OCSAA number, you can find it on a previous plan or ask your diocesan advisory member. When you go to write your initial plan, please make sure that you mark it with an X and you are titling each Word document very specifically with your school name, the date, and whether or not it's preliminary. This is for you, this is for your diocese, and this is for me. You will want to do this every time that you mark up your plan. Otherwise, you're going to have these documents and you're not going to know, was this the revised? Was this preliminary? What changes did I make? So just make it a good practice to write preliminary and put the date. Then you will have your EBT visit in January or February. You will get some suggestions to revise it. You'll pull this up, do save as, right? You'll save it as revised with a new date. And then potentially you might make even another revision after the review committee, which is a state group of people looking at your plan. And then you might have a final one to submit later on in May or June. Those specifics, your diocesan member will certainly be able to help you with. But this is what it looks like. And if you are starting year 2, more than likely this is empty, or maybe you've started to fill it out a little bit. So one of the 3 resources I'm going to show you to write your plan is the School Improvement Plan Guide. This is a little overwhelming at first, but in each box, it has really great questions to ask yourself as you're filling in that box. You do not need to answer every question as you write in that box. You would have way too much text in that box. But these are really good guiding questions for you and your team as you go to fill in and scaffold from year 1 through year 4. So key questions to ask yourself as you begin to write the plan. What should students know, understand, and be able to do? How will we know if students have achieved the desired results? Do we have existing assessments that we're going to look at? Do we need to create a new assessment or a new self-survey or a reflection? Do we need journals? Do we need logbooks? What do we need to show that students have achieved that result? Kind of along the same lines, what will we accept as evidence of that student transfer of knowledge, that application? And then how will we evaluate student performance? And I would add to that, how will we share student performance? I think that's a huge component of any strategic plan or school improvement process, is that you're communicating and you're sharing not only with your school, but with your parents and your other stakeholders, with your parish community. You know, you're going to be doing great work over the next 4 years, so make sure that you're sharing and communicating that. So this kind of goes back to Ursuline Academy's question earlier, where they had a really strong goal and vision for what they wanted the teachers and staff to be able to do. And so now they've got to look at, how are we going to plan learning experiences and instruction in the classroom so that students are able to do something? So how will we support learners? How will we prepare them to autonomously transfer their learning? What enabling knowledge and skills will students need to perform these results? And what activities, sequences, and resources are best suited to accomplish our goals? You're not going to put everything in year 1, right? So think long term. How are you going to sequence it from year 1 to year 4? So as I said in the beginning, we always recommend that you start with the end goal in mind. And when you look at all of these boxes in the school improvement plan, it's box 23 that is really that end goal. This is, for example, if you're a high school, this is your senior capstone, right? This is what you want your seniors to do that April of senior year. They're doing some presentation or some service project, or they're making a video, or whatever it is. This is that end skill and competency. So it's recommended that you start here and then you work your way backwards. How do you get your students there for these first 3 years? What are you doing? What baby steps are you doing? How are you building to get them there to that place? Then you're going to work your way up. I know some schools are working their way down. That's okay. It's however your vision is for your school and for your plan. But then you're going to think, well, how does instruction need to change? If I want my students to be able to do X, what are my teachers going to have to do differently in the classroom? And then you're going to go up further and say, well, what support do my teachers need to be able to do that? What PD do they need to learn how to do this differently or learn to do this better? So planning professional development, I think this is such an important part of writing these plans, because you can have this as your roadmap for the next 4 years. When you're planning your PD for the following year, you don't have to scratch your head and go, oh no, what am I doing, next month or next week? You've already have it written. You're putting in the work now to identify those best practice resources, to find that speaker at a local university or to find that workshop. So some questions you should be asking: how will we support teachers as they come to understand this new idea or this new best practice? Again, same questions. What activities, sequences, and resources are best suited for PD? What's going to work for your group of teachers? I'm not going to go through all of these action verbs, but come back to this. This will be posted, and you can really use these action verbs to build your plan from years 1 through 4, and also to tailor your plan for the different grade levels that you have. The next resource that is a brand new resource that I'm really excited about is this rubric. So this rubric will be used by you, the school. It will be used by your EVT chair and team when they visit, and it will also be used by the State Review Committee, which is a group of leaders who come together to review all plans that are in validation year. So all 3 steps along the process are going to use the same rubric and the same language. And here in a minute, you're going to get a chance to use this rubric in a breakout room to evaluate a sample plan that I'm going to assign to you. So each row, the EVT will actually give you, I don't like to call it a grade or a score, but they're going to label that row or that part of your plan as either exemplary, full, conditional, or it does not meet the standard. And so this is going to be really helpful at the end of the EVT to go back to this rubric and look, okay, well, they gave, my alignment with data, they gave me a conditional. I need to be a little bit more specific on what data I'm using and how I'm going to use that data. So again, this rubric is a great resource. This is on that administrator resource webpage.
I just want to clarify. So like we use it on ourselves to kind of see how we feel it is. The internal person does it as well to tell us how they think it is. Then the external does it as well to tell us what they think it is. And then we're on the review committee, they also use it. So each school will get it done 4 times.
Tina?
I'm just trying to clarify because it's new. And, for some of us, we are getting ready for internal and all of that. So I want to make sure I'm ready.
Absolutely. And so you would think certainly by the end of the EVT, and you've gotten this done now, your school, your steering committee's done it. Hopefully your internal maybe has used this a little bit to sit down with you and go through it. The EVT is the big one. That's really the important one, where you have somebody from outside your diocese. You've got a group of local principals coming together to really support you, using this to help you make your plan better. So yes, certainly by the end of that EVT and you've revised, your plan should look really, really good, right? You've gone through the ringer, so to speak. So by the time it gets to review committee at the state, there really shouldn't be much to look at, because like you said, the school's been doing this multiple times. So does that answer your question? The answer is yes. Any other questions about the rubric?
I was trying to verify that, 1, we're going to be able to access the PowerPoint, and 2, if we could get clarification about that, administrative resource webpage as well, or if that's in the PowerPoint somewhere.
Sure. So yes, this will be posted. And then I had emailed everybody who RSVP'd the link to the administrator resources. I can also put that link in the chat once we do breakout rooms, because you're going to need access to that. It's not password protected. It's just a public site. But all of the resources you're going to be using in the breakout room are on that webpage.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Yeah, you might not have gotten the email because I don't know if, but it was emailed. So then the third resource is the rubric companion guide. Again, this is the same common language that's going to be utilized by the school, the EVT, and the review committee. And it goes right along with that rubric and the template guide, but it just presents it a little bit differently. It gives you this checklist or bullet points as you write the plan. I recommend that when you use it as you write the plan, but I would also give it to a faculty test group or, somebody, maybe a set of parents who can use this guide and go along your plan and say, yes, you did each of these bullet points, or I'm not really seeing this bullet point here. That will really help you flesh out all 4 years of the plan. And then definitely make sure that you are putting in that revise, review, and reflect section, that you are sharing this with your faculty and staff often. Maybe not every month at every faculty and staff meeting, but maybe once a quarter, certainly. If here's where we are with OCSAA, you need to be building into your plan how you're training new teachers in the plan, how you're onboarding new teachers. And that should be a focus to keep you guys on, keep your school on the right path for your improvement plan. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a longer breakout room. In the administrator resource page, and I will put that link in the chat right now. You have 2 exemplary plans, and each plan you're given a summary, and then you're given the actual template with all of the boxes filled out. So you'll want to use the rubric, and if you also want to use that companion guide, you can, but really focus on using that rubric with your breakout room to view that academic plan if that's what you're assigned, or the Catholic identity plan. And you're going to go row by row, category by category, and score that plan as one of the 4 scores. What do you notice as you do this? What questions do you have as you do this? And at the end, I kind of just, was this a helpful process for you to do? At the end of the breakout rooms, I have a few more poll questions and time for group discussion to kind of just discuss all of this. What did you notice? What questions do you have? And it'll be about 15 minutes, maybe 20. I'll probably pop into some breakout rooms and see how everybody is doing and if you need more or less time. So if you are in groups 1 through 3, you're doing the academic plan. If you are in groups 4 through 6, and I'm just typing this in the chat, you will be doing the Catholic identity plan. Do you have any questions before I get you guys into the breakout room? Welcome back. So let's start with the academic performance plan, which I have up on my screen. So if you were one of the groups that pulled up the rubric and pulled up this plan or the plan summary, what were some of the things you noticed when you went to use the rubric?
I think in our group, we were a little lost on what it was that they were actually trying to focus on, because it seemed like there was two distinct goals kind of wrapped up in one. And then when you look down within the years of implementation, they also referenced a lot of like the wellness and social emotional learning, which as we were reading through, it didn't really connect up to that top goal. So we had a hard time following the rubric with this because it was really convoluted for us.
Good. That's good feedback. I remember I said that I said these plans are not perfect, right? So excellent that you saw that maybe the plan wasn't quite as focused as it could have been. That's
Our
also
group felt
good.
the same way. We felt that so I've been an EVT chair before, and I've served on the review committee a couple of times. I'm not an expert at that or in any of that. But we thought that the vocabulary sometimes wasn't consistent. Like they were still using will develop in year 4, and will develop is like a first year vocabulary, right? Because if you're developing in year 4, what are you doing with it? Because at that point, you're starting a new goal. We also didn't understand some of the the terminology in the goal. What is the DOK and how does that relate to what the goal is? We also wondered about where does the so with the data, is that the data that we're looking at from the diocese? And I think you jumped in on our group when we were talking about this, Amanda, or is that data from within your own little community? And for St. Pat's, it's both. We look at the survey answers that the diocese tells us that we have to send out, but we also do a lot of group meetings and what does it actually look like in your classroom, and how many office referrals did we have this year versus last year, and how's that missing assignment problem coming along? And maybe that's not specifically addressed in the surveys that the diocese give us. And speaking solely for St. Pat's, what we've found is some of how the parents and the students answer those survey questions are really different than how the staff and administration are answering those survey questions, and fitting that all together for the overall benefit of the school. Okay, I diverge. I'm sorry, I'll be quiet now.
No, good question, Tina. So the diocese surveys are actually coming from OCSAA, but those surveys are for the self-study. You're going to use those results to inform just the whole plan and the focus of the plan. But then when you go in to write into the boxes, the types of assessments, the types of evidence, the types of rubrics, the types of surveys, those are going to be school created or teacher created, or they're going to be what you're already using like ARC, iReady, or MAP. So you won't be using the self-study surveys as you go throughout your plan. Those will be different surveys.
Something I wanted to point out, Tina, when you said in the 4th year they use the word develop. This is a stretch here, but maybe they were talking about the incoming freshmen that year. Maybe because you got what I find frustrating with how we do this, okay, and I'm part of advisory and I'll be giving my input this year, is that when we have these 4 columns for each year, and let's just say we're talking about high school, so there's only 4 grades. We need to talk about what is the incoming 9th graders going to do in year 1, and then they become 10th graders in year 2. Of course, in year 4, they're the seniors. However, in the 4th year, you're receiving freshmen. They are like the seniors in year 1. They're only getting 1 year of this plan.
That's a really good point. I've never thought of it that way, but that's a really good point. And I'm not sure anyone on a team that I've served on has brought that up. So that's a really good point.
And so that's what I try to tell my people is that I think earlier Matt might have said, oh yeah, we talk about grade bands. For an elementary, you've got 9 grade levels. You've got, K through 8. And it's like, oh my gosh, can you imagine us writing this 4-year plan per grade level? But that would be the most beneficial for the teacher in that classroom because they know what they're going to be doing. A kindergarten and a 1st grade teacher will always be doing basically the same thing because their kids are coming with no baseline. And so I don't know how to solve this problem, but that could be what that school was thinking of in year 4.
That is a really good point.
Yes, I think being more
Maybe-
specific with this plan, I think having grade bands, which is how I've seen really good plans be written, grades K and 1 are doing this, and then you just say they're doing this throughout the life of the plan. But then as those students move to grades 3 and 4, then they're getting new skills, and that's their year 2. So yes, definitely be aware. Just for the sake of time, we are going to move on to the Catholic Identity Plan. But I think what you noticed with this plan is that there definitely could have been more of a focus, and there could have been a little bit more specifics, which is hard in year 2 because you don't know exactly what year 3 and what year 4 are going to look like. You haven't done it yet. You haven't done the PD. You haven't learned that best practice. And yet you're trying to write a very specific plan and tell everybody what it's going to look like in year 3 and 4. So it's a very difficult assignment to do for many reasons. So let's look now at the Catholic Identity Goal. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. Care for God's creation, rights and responsibilities to solve real world problems. If you were in a breakout room that used the rubric on this plan, what did you notice?
I guess I'll share. Everybody in my group, we're all kind of new to this whole thing. So at first in looking at this, we talked a little bit about it possibly needing more benchmarks to measure throughout the process. And then a question I had was like I guess to show more application, but a question I had was how specific do you have to be in stating benchmarks? Like if they just say formative summative assessments, does it need to be more specific to that, or is that okay just to have a general way that you're going to measure?
I think generally it's okay. So this plan was using ARC. I would have had them focus in on some domains or some certain standards in ARC that they're going to track from year to year. But typically you wouldn't. I mean, you could put in, we want 75% proficiency. That you could certainly write that in there, but that would not be a requirement. So good. So you noticed benchmarking was maybe a little bit weak. Yes, for this plan, I would have put in specific domains of ARC to focus on.
Would that
use an
include
application.
Would that include like when you're doing a summative or a formative assessment, would you include like the domains that you're trying to measure when you're doing that, or is that too detailed?
No, I think you should focus on the certain domains. Yes, I would include that.
And you might want to, if you don't want to say like 75%, you might want to say that they're making more than a year's growth, or something like that. So you can say, at least we're on target. So if our lowest, most struggling child is growing at least a year, then you feel successful. But of course you want them to go more because you eventually want them to catch up, so it depends on how detailed you want to be. And again, this is your personal plan. So if you want to be very detailed, I would say go for it.
Any other thoughts on the Catholic Identity Plan?
We just, in our breakout room, we talked about how impactful it is in the baseline of student knowledge that they kind of have a nice mix of more like norm reference, standardized assessments, surveys, observational data, as well as it seems like some assessment, pre and post tests, for example, that they would make there in-house that may be more tailored to their specific goals. So we just thought it was a nice kind of diverse data set to measure the implementation of the goal.
Good. That's a great observation. Yes, it's good to have a mix of both. Okay, a quick little multiple choice here. I'm just kind of curious, now that you're familiar with all 3 resources you have to write your plan, which one do you think is going to be most valuable to you moving forward? Thank you. So that's interesting. So advisory members, take note. Everybody liked that rubric companion with the checklist. So good to know. Thank you. All right. I think in the interest of time, I think we're going to skip these 2 slides. And we're going to try to end a little bit early. And the last little section I have for everybody to consider is using AI to write your plan. Raise your hand if you use AI. I think most hands that I see are going up. So my AI of preference is Copilot. Other people use ChatGPT. Have you all heard about the new Catholic AI that's coming out? I think based on, the catechism. I cannot remember the name of it. I don't know if it's officially released yet, but it's coming. So that would be something very cool to share with your students, teach them how to use it, pop some questions in there and see what comes off, because it is built on the framework of the catechism. So you can certainly use AI to help with your plan writing. If you are familiar with AI and you use it a lot, you know that AI is only as good as what you give it. So if you front load it really well and give it a lot of good data and information about your school, you're likely to get some really good stuff out of it. So if I were you, I would be putting in some really key points from my school profile, some information about my demographics, my testing data, my weaknesses, my strengths, maybe just a beginning of what I think I want to focus on, and use AI to help you develop that initial goal. Ask it to outline a 4-year plan that builds from year to year. The best 2 pieces I think you can use AI for are to research best practice in your area and professional development resources. I feel like in my experience and in looking at other plans, these are the 2 areas that schools struggle with the most, because it is hard for just one school or one small group of steering committee to look at the whole country and look at what is best practice and what are schools doing and what is available out there. So I definitely encourage you to use AI to help you with that. Here's an example of somebody inputting a prompt into AI. Write a Catholic identity goal that will focus on improving student participation with other Catholic rituals and personal prayer. And so AI came back with a SMART goal. Now, we don't ask our schools to write a typical SMART goal where you've got percentages in there, but this is a great first attempt. And then maybe after this goal, this is way too wordy, right? Our goal should just be 1 sentence. Maybe you can come back and say, great, now narrow this down to just 1 sentence for a plan. And then again, you can use it to outline the rest of your 4 years. So don't be afraid to use it, but use it, responsibly, use it intelligently so that you can get the most out of it and help you with writing your plan. So that concludes. I was hoping to end just a tad early for everybody. I know 2 hours is a long time to sit or stand in front of a screen. Definitely at this point, please open it up to everybody. There's no bad, stupid questions. So what questions do you have? Okay. We're going to do one more post-assessment to rate yourself on how well you now understand the goal writing process. So this is our last poll. If you could rate yourself now on 1 to 5, after going through this workshop, how do you feel? 5 being very familiar, 1 being not familiar. Thank you. So we don't have any more 1s, so that's great. I think everybody maybe hopefully assessed themselves maybe a little bit higher than they did in the beginning. It certainly is a process, and the more that you engage and interact with your staff, the steering committee, with your advisory member from your diocese, the more comfortable you're going to get with this process. So next steps for everybody, make sure you continually go back to that link I put in the chat to get all of the resources that are available to you as you write your goal and your plans. Consult with your diocese and that advisory member on what your specific next steps are and when that might happen. Be sure you're communicating the status of the plan no matter what year you're in, whether you're in 1 or 3 or 6. Communicate the status. Share often about your school's strategic plan, your continuous improvement plan. Continue with your committee work. And then this next one, I highly recommend sending somebody from your faculty or staff to an EVT member training. A lead teacher on a steering committee, an assistant principal. This is probably, in terms of OCSAA professional development, this is going to be the most valuable. And the dates are in the next newsletter. So I will be sending out the next newsletter tomorrow, I believe. And there will be RSVP links and dates and times for these. We've got 2 EVT trainings coming up. So even if you are not going to volunteer as an EVT chair, this training is still so valuable if your school is going through an EVT year. Okay, so that would be something to be on the lookout for.
What is EVT?
So that's the external evaluation team that happens in year 2 after you've written the goals and the plans. Then this somebody from outside of your diocese is the chair, and then there's a small team of principals from around your area that come over 2 days, and they tour the school, they talk to your teachers, and they review your plans and your operating standards.
Diane, you're in implementation year 2, and so that your school did that 2 years ago.
Okay.
Thanks, Laura.
So all you're doing right now is implementing what the staff wrote 2 years ago. However, you do have the option of making adjustments, and you can contact me and we can talk about that in detail.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Last 2 things, continue to think continuous improvement. You're always trying to get better for your school and your students. And then along that website, there was also the updated OCSAA handbook. So make sure you're reviewing that if you have any questions. So this is what that resource page looks like. The handbook is there. If you scroll down, there's other resources, and this presentation will also be uploaded there shortly. There's my contact information. If you ever need to get a hold of me, obviously you also have your diocesan advisory member to reach out to as well if you need assistance or have questions. So if you wouldn't mind, I will also email this link when we get off, but this is just a quick survey. And at the end of this survey, you will be able to request certificates of completion for PD hours if you so choose to get those. And I will be emailing that link for the survey as well. And that is it for this morning. So again, thank you for everything that you do for your school and for Catholic education. Really enjoyed getting to know you, and hopefully I'll